Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Jenny Montgomery. A North Augusta family is asking the community to help them as their baby battles a rare disease. Last summer, the Johnsons were celebrating the birth of twins, but now they're in a race against time as one of the babies has end-stage renal disease. 10-month-old Theo Johnson has a rare condition called posterior urethral valves. At birth, he spent only 1 day in the incubator with his twin because Theo spent the next 6 weeks in the NICU. Now the family is looking for a donor because their baby needs a kidney transplant. Theo is starting growth hormone so his body can adapt to an adult kidney. He has less than 10% kidney function and will need a transplant to live.
We were misdiagnosed, so we were completely blindsided when he was born. I mean, we had just like relaxed, thinking like everything's going to be okay, and then, we just had, no idea what was coming.
Auburn Johnson is here with me today. And first of all, Auburn, thanks so much for your time. I know it has to be hard. You have the twins, you have a 9-year-old who would be on summer vacation now. Thank you for getting here. Give us the timeline of events. The babies were born last August, and take us back to their birth. Did you know beforehand there were going to be medical issues?
So at 20 weeks gestation is when we were referred to a maternal fetal medicine doctor. So we saw that doctor during the whole pregnancy. That's when we were told that it was an adrenal cyst is what they thought it was wrong with his kidney. It looked like he had cysts on his kidneys, and his amniotic fluid was low. Eventually, she said that the cyst ruptured or appeared to have. He looked somewhat stable. His amniotic fluid had improved. So we were really thinking like things were better and that he seemed pretty much stable. So when they were born, I had them about 6 weeks early for preeclampsia. So I had a C-section, and then when he was born, there were no issues immediately. It was 2 days later, the NICU doctor said his creatinine was elevated and they wanted to send him to the Children's Hospital. And I still, at that point, didn't really realize like how bad it was. And he even told me the creatinine level, and I'm a nurse, and it still didn't like register to me how bad that was. It just didn't sink in at that time. So it was really hard to let him go. I mean, we knew that we had to, but him leaving his brother and leaving us, and I couldn't go with him, it was really hard.
Oh, gosh.
And then, I wanted...
How much did they weigh when they were born?
6 pounds. So they were big.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You were big twins.
You had 2 6-pound babies that early, too.
Yeah. Everyone was scared about them being born prematurely and how, twins are little anyway, but no, they didn't have any issue with their size. But after that, I was like in a rush to get out of the hospital so I could get to the Children's Hospital to see Theo. And before I saw him, he had already had, I don't know if he had had 2 surgeries or if they had just did multiple procedures during one, but what struck me immediately was they had put in a dialysis catheter that had to be tunneled across. So it was inserted on one side and then tunneled across his stomach. So, at 6 pounds, he's so little, and it was so big. It was just overwhelming to see. And I'm used to like the wines and IVs and stuff like that, and that wasn't what it was. It was just seeing like him so little.
Oh, sure.
With that, and then I think is when it really started to sink in how bad it was. They had called me when I was still in the hospital that they were.
And you were still in the hospital because, like you said, you had surgery. You had a C-section.
Yeah, and they told me that they were going to have to put in a dialysis catheter. And like I said, when the NICU doctor told me the creatinine level, it still wasn't like hitting me how bad that was. So when they said that they were going to have to put in a dialysis catheter, I just lost it because I knew what that meant. And my husband didn't understand like, how bad that was and what that means. So he left me at that hospital to go like check on Theo. And so he came back with, more information than I had, just like all his numbers and how bad they were, and that they were putting in that dialysis catheter, and that, he would definitely need dialysis is what they said. He had less than 10% function of his kidneys. One kidney didn't develop correctly, and then the other one was just completely damaged, past, them thinking that it could repair itself. His bladder was damaged also. So then over the course of his NICU stay, they put in, the urologist said that he wanted to check to see if it was posterior urethral valves. And that's the diagnosis that I asked the fetal medicine doctor about. And, they didn't think that that's what it was. So he said that he wanted, the other doctors also thought that it could look like a cystic kidney, but he wanted to check to see if it could be posterior urethral valves, and it was. So the urologist did a valve ablation for that. So hopefully that will help his bladder, but we still aren't really sure what's going to happen with his bladder. They did a vesicostomy, so there's an opening under his belly button to urinate through so that the urine doesn't back up into his kidneys to damage it more. So he'll keep that even after the transplant. But
so now you are looking for donors. What is required for that? Is it blood type? Do you have to be a certain age? Do you need children kidneys? I mean, what do you need?
So if he ends up having to get a deceased donor, they would probably use a child or a teenager for the size. But we're really hoping he can get a living donor because they just last longer and they work better. So that's really what we're trying to do is be able to find him a living donor. And like I told Isabella, I was denied for the preeclampsia, and I wasn't his blood type anyway. It was going to have to be a paired exchange where I donate to someone else and then they donate to him. Mm-hmm. But with the preeclampsia diagnosis, they won't let me do that. Yeah. So O is the only criteria, and then after that they do like tissue testing and other tests. And after the news segment, like a few people wanted to be tested, and I think that most of them were denied for like previous medical history. Mm-hmm. So diabetes, I know, and high blood pressure, I know, are the two things that a lot of people get denied for. Yeah. But there are other lab values they look at, but O is the most important step in knowing that you could be able to donate.
What is Theo's twin's name?
Tucker.
Tucker. Mm-hmm. How's Tucker doing?
He's great. He's in like the 60th percentile for weight. He's growing fine. He's great.
Do the babies play together?
Oh, yeah. We were really worried about that, with him being away from him so long in the NICU and just being sick and having to, he's had, I think there's probably been maybe a period of like 3 weeks where he didn't have something coming like out of his body, like whether it was a tube or anything. He still has a G tube, but that's, we're able to manage that better. But there were just so many times we had to keep Tucker away from him or off of him, or can't let them play like babies play.
Sure, right, absolutely. Well, Auburn Johnson, you're just so brave to talk to us. My heart goes out to you and your situation, and I just hope that somebody's listening right now who would be interested in being a donor, or who may, have another path to that kind of a donation. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
And here's the information for you to know if you're interested in helping with the kidney search for Theo. Contact their transplant coordinator, Kate Hefner, at 706-721-3773, or email catherine.hefner@wellstar.org. And you can keep up with Theo's progress on Facebook. The page is called Theo is a Hero. We'll be right back.